It's Ash from SuperVideos back for another video for Fear the Walking Dead. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Morgan's journey in the Walking Dead universe and his return to King County in Fear the Walking Dead. And I'm going to explain how I think they're going to go about doing the ending to Morgan's story. Now, one thing I do want to say, at the time of recording this video, I have not watched the season 1, episode 4 of Fear the Walking Dead, which is called King County, even though it has been released early on AMC Plus, and I will be checking it out after this video and another one that's related. Now, the reason why I decided to do these videos anyway, even though the episode is released, is because it acts as sort of a prediction video for this episode. This one particularly is a prediction type video, and another one that I'm going to be uploading as well is more of what I really want to happen to bookend Morgan's story. So check out that as well if you're interested. So stay tuned, we'll be right back to break this down. Alright, as always, before we dive into it, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. With that said, let's dive right into it. So, of course, we do know in this particular episode, Morgan with Mo and Grace are going to travel back to King County. Now, for those of you that might not remember, King County is actually the place where Rick's house was, and it happened to be next to the house where Morgan found and was staying at along with his family. A lot of people mistakenly think that that was Morgan's house, but it wasn't. He just found that place and was there with his wife, Jenny, and his son, Dwayne, before his wife got bit and turned, and Rick kind of found him. But we do know that Morgan is going to go back to King County. In fact, we know that he's going to go back to the police station that we actually saw in the premiere episode where Rick gave Morgan the rifle, the sniper rifle, which will be used in this episode as well. So that's super awesome. Now, here's what I think they're going to do. I think they're going to have Morgan go back to King County and they're going to have him see these locations again. And I think that this is going to trigger something in his head. I feel like seeing all of these things is going to remind him of all of the horrors that he had to witness. And I think that this is going to push him towards his clear mode again. And I feel like these things are going to make him lose it once again, like he lost it before when Rick found him in the episode Clear. Now, this is one of the pictures they released for this upcoming episode, which is a very interesting one. We actually see him sitting at the table at the place that he was staying at, next to Rick's house. In fact, if we go back to that episode, season 1, episode 1 of The Walking Dead, we can see that it's the exact same location. The wallpaper on the wall matches, and everything is identical. So that's super awesome. Now, when it comes to what happened to Morgan's wife and son, I actually went back and watched the episode Clear once again in preparation for this video and in preparation for this episode, and I actually saw a few things that I completely forgot about. One of these has to do with Morgan explaining what happened to his wife and son. Of course, after Rick left him in season 1, episode 1, his wife had turned and was roaming around the streets, but Morgan wasn't able to kill her. And season 1, episode 1 ended with Morgan holding the sniper rifle that Rick gave him, but not being able to actually kill his wife. But at that point, his son was still alive. But in that episode, Clear, Morgan does reveal that they went to some sort of cellar looking for food. He didn't want Dwayne to go with him, so he stayed behind. Morgan left to find food. When he returned, he actually saw Jenny in walker form in front of his son, and Morgan wasn't able to get to him quick enough, and his son was most likely bit in the process. And this kind of triggered the whole all I see is red in Morgan, and it pushed them towards his clear mode. And I feel like they're going to do something similar in this episode, where Morgan is slowly going to go back to that state of mind and he's going to go back to his clear mode. And the reason why he might do that is the same stuff I mentioned earlier, which is just going back to the locations again and remembering everything is going to trigger something in him. And he's going to go back to his clear mode. Like we see here, another picture that was released for the episode. We see him killing all of these walkers, and his facial expression is clearly, no pun intended, a clear mode state Morgan. Now, another very interesting detail that I feel they would probably need to come back to is Morgan's town, I call it, where he had all of those signs and booby traps when Rick, Michonne, and Carl found him. I mean, it has to be because that location was also close to Rick's house. It was in King County. If you remember, Carl actually saw a map of their neighborhood on the wall of where Morgan was. Now, we do know based on the teasers, trailers, and pictures that they've released, Morgan is gonna go back to the house that he was staying at with Grace and Mo. Now, based on the things that we see in the trailer, it seems like there's going to be a lot of sequences where Morgan is having hallucinations. It seems like it's a mixture of reality and things that are just in Morgan's head, because we do see him kind of breaking down in tears in multiple scenes, but it's not really clear whether he's just seeing something that's there or seeing something that's not actually there, which is definitely something they can play around with. Like they can do a mixture of things where it's real, but it's not really what he sees. Similar to what they did with Rick when he lost Lori. They could have him seeing ghosts, but at the same time, they could have him see the bodies of the people that he knew back then, or something along those lines. But everything in the trailers is pointing towards something dramatic happening to Morgan, where he's gonna lose it in some way, shape, or form, and he's gonna have all of these hallucinations. And he's gonna see all of these signs on the walls, which we don't necessarily know were there at his place. We know that these signs were there in his town where Rick, Carl, and Michonne found him, but we don't know necessarily if there's any of those types of graffiti and signs and messages on the walls of his place where he visits. So that brings up the possibility that he might actually not only go back to where he was, but also possibly go back to his old town where he set up all of those booby traps. But another thing to keep in mind is we do see a graffiti of his son's name, Dwayne, in the trailer. So another thing to keep in mind is they still need to wrap his son's story. We don't know at this point if he's dead or alive, probably dead if we were to believe his story that he told in the Clear episode, but he clearly doesn't have closure and he needs to go back and find his son and his wife and kind of either put them down and bury them or something along those lines to really bookend his chapter in the Walking Dead universe and bring closure to his character. But another thing I do want to mention is they're going to have to be really careful how they do this so that it's realistic. Because obviously, we do see a shot in the trailer where he's putting a blanket over a walker that's been dead for a while. And if you look at the hair, the makeup, and everything of the walker, it matches his wife, Jenny, which means that it's extremely likely that the walker that we saw is his wife. And in that case, it makes sense for him to find her because he put her down himself at some point. But when it comes to his son, Dwayne, if his son is still a walker, then they're going to have to be careful how they have him find his son, if that's the direction they're going to go with it. which I think is the case. Because obviously, if it's open space and there's nothing trapping his Walker's son in a particular location, it's unlikely that he would be able to find him all of these years later and put him down. You know what I mean? But that's pretty much how I think this episode is going to go and what's going to happen. I feel like it's going to be a mixture of hallucinations and a mixture of him just going back to the actual locations where he was and witness all of those things all over again and have to find his wife and son and put them down and possibly bury them to bring closure to his character. But that's pretty much everything I wanted to go over. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.